Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Reviewable, Micah and Braden, where we review stuff.
I'm doing it, sup.
Oh, okay. Braden said sup to all of you.
But I did it with a head nod.
Please return the favor.
What did we do this week? Actually, not this week, last week. What did we do last week? Mike was on vacation this week.
Hitman.
That's right. We watched Hitman, which is a new Netflix-produced movie.
With Glenn Powell.
Yes. Actually co-written by him. Did you know that?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And for those of you that don't know, Glenn Powell is Hangman.
From Top Gun. Maverick. Yeah, and then he's also... he's kind of been blowing up recently, I guess. He was in that one movie with that romantic comedy that was coming out with Sydney Sweeney. Anything But You, I think it's called. Anyone But You. And then...
He's in Top Gun Maverick. Oh, he's in the new Twisters movie. I feel like they've been advertising that movie for forever.
Who is he in The Dark Knight Rises? I'm curious about this now.
He was an extra.
Traitor number 1.
That's really funny.
Okay. What's this movie about, though, Micah?
So, what's his name in the movie? Is it Glenn?
Oh, no, it's not. Look it up.
Okay, so Glenn Powell plays Gary in this movie, and he's a university professor.
What's his alter ego when he starts talking with
Ron.
Ron, that's right.
Okay, so he is a university professor teaching philosophy. And he has like a very beige life.
Yeah.
He drives
like a Civic or something.
Yeah, like a Honda Civic or like a Toyota Corolla, just like a very basic car.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes to work, teaches his class, he comes home, he fills up his bird feeders, he feeds the cats.
He's got cats.
Whatever. And at some point he decides, I'm gonna help the police as a hobby or whatever, like on the side, because I have nothing else to do or something like that. And so he takes some courses and he becomes one of the surveillance people in the car. The surveillance team.
Yeah.
You know, like in the movies, how they're in the van with the cameras and the audio going. So he becomes the people that sits in the van. And then this team that he's on try to catch bad guys through hiring hitmen. The police officer is pretending to be a hitman.
It's like a sting.
Yeah.
They're pretending to set these people up with a hitman and arresting them based on attempted murder or, conspiracy to commit murder. Which totally sounds like entrapment.
Yeah, I don't get it.
But
whatever, that's not important to this.
Yeah.
And so at some point, the guy who is pretending, the officer who's being the hitman, gets in trouble for stuff. And they're like, oh no, we're supposed to meet this guy. Gary, just pretend to be a hitman. And he does great. Right?
Yeah, he's really good at it. And
so they keep having him do it, and he keeps going on these stings. And he gets really into it. He, dresses up. He researches the bad people that he's going to meet, and, creates a character around that. And so one of them, he dresses up like someone that looks like Edward Scissorhands. He dresses up like a hardcore redneck.
Yeah.
He dresses up as...
He does like a Russian KGB persona. He does like a Patrick Bateman persona. It's kind of fun to see all of his disguises.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a funny part. I guess this is actually based on a real thing. Remember that they had a little blurb at the end, and it was this was loosely based on the life of this person. He really did this, I guess.
Okay.
So as unbelievable as it sounds, I guess it did work, and they did put people in jail.
Yeah, I don't know how that...
Keep going, though.
Are we gonna talk about the girl that he meets?
Yeah, he meets a girl.
Okay, so there's one day he dresses up as Ron, who's kind of just like a badass, right?
Right. It's a cool version of Glenn Powell.
What are you looking for?
How do you live like this? Okay.
Oh, all the important ones are at the top.
Micah has like 40,000 tabs open on her phone.
All the important ones are at the top.
Oh, it doesn't even say her character's name.
Her name's Madison.
Okay.
He shows up to this diner as Ron, and this girl, Madison, she's known, right?
I think this is the first thing I've seen her in. She's in Morbius. You know her from Morbius?
Oh, it's Morbin time.
She's in Andor, which I haven't seen. Good Omens 2? She's not Anathema, is she?
She might be.
Yeah, that
yeah,
is
she
her.
was in Anathema.
Okay, that's how we know her.
Okay, so she's from Good Omens.
Okay,
so he shows up to meet this woman at a
Yeah.
diner. And while they're talking, she is saying that she wants to off her husband. Does she say why?
she's like, she infers that she's being abused and controlled, and
Yeah, very strongly infers that. And he kind of is like
it feels like she doesn't deserve to be.
arrested.
Yeah, so
he's like, just turn your life around or whatever, get a divorce. And she then later reaches out to him and is like, I'm getting divorced.
I left him. Let's go on a date.
Yeah.
She's like attracted to him because he's badass Glenn Powell now.
Yeah.
As Ron.
And it's so funny. There's this part where he just finished being Ron or whatever, and he's on the phone with the cops, the people on his team that have been working with him for months. And they thought that they hung up, and they keep talking, and they're like, Gary is just Like, Gary is, I don't know. But, like, Ron, oh my gosh. And it's like a guy and a girl, the two officers talking about him, and he's just listening. They're like, I would sleep with Ron. And the guy's like, me too. And she's like, are you, or she's talking, and then he's like, yeah, I agree. And she's like, are you saying you would sleep with Ron? And he's like, I would take your sloppy seconds.
That's right.
It was pretty funny.
So he realizes he stumbled onto like someone that he wants to be. Mm-hmm. And like there's like little scenes throughout where he talks about change and like
he's talking to his ex-wife about how she's saying people can't really change, and he's saying, or is it the other way around?
No, she's saying they can,
and he's saying no,
that like if you act a certain way for long enough time, eventually you can't help but actually adapt some of those traits.
And she's saying no?
No, she's saying yes, you can, and he's saying no, you can't.
You're confusing me.
She's saying you can, and he's saying that you can't.
Cannot.
Change, yeah. Not really. Not much. Or maybe it's the other way around. I guess you'll have to watch the movie to find out.
But anyway, I liked that.
They introduced this idea of, it's basically like faking it till you make it. In a more like philosophical way, they state it, and they say you can change your personality or aspects of your personality if you live long enough in a certain way. Which brings us back to Ron. Well,
we covered the summary.
Yeah.
Well enough.
All right. I'm just gonna get this out of the way. There's lots of sexy time in this. Because they have their relationship starts out as kind of like an affair or a fling, where they're not allowed to go out. They're not allowed to get attachments to each other because he's still playing this persona of being a hitman. And also, it's very unethical for him to become involved with the people that they're setting up stings against. So he doesn't want to get caught. So for those reasons, he sets these rules, and they're not allowed to leave the house. They're not allowed to talk about their personal lives. It's strictly just, no pants dance all the time. So there's that in this.
The thing that I was wondering about is he works with the same two cops.
3.
Right, but whatever. He works with the same cops the whole movie, doing these sting ops. Do they have a team just dedicated to this hitman sting?
Yeah, probably.
Why? Isn't there other stuff, like murders and stuff that they should... I mean, I guess they're preventing murders.
Yeah, that's what I didn't get. Like, is this really a common enough thing that they would dedicate 4 positions to, so much time dedicated to this.
Well, and he's not an officer. How did they let this keep going? Of him being on the inside.
He probably said he was okay with it. Sign a waiver. It's just like going to a trampoline park.
What?
Yeah.
It is not the same thing.
Sign the Hitman waiver. Fake Hitman waiver. Same as the trampoline park waiver, just different words. And then it has the police department letterhead at the top.
I don't know.
I mean, everybody's pretty good in this, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's acting good. There's some funny parts. I think
Name one.
I won't.
Then what didn't happen?
I do wish, because he is a teacher of philosophy, and they go into some of the philosophical undertones of this film a little bit, but not in a very deep way at all.
Like what?
Well, it's been 2 weeks now since I've watched this, so I can't just reach into my brain and pull out a specific example.
Just pull it out of your brain's butthole. At
this point. But the focus is really more on their relationship for this movie. It feels almost like a rom-com in a strange way.
Yeah.
So I was kind of interested in the philosophy behind this. It seems like they made him a professor of philosophy for a reason, and they give him that little talk that he has with his wife where they're talking about different philosophical ideas about change and all this, but then they never really dig deeply into it, which was kind of a bummer for me. But I thought this was pretty good. It was, it was a little twisty, turny,
yeah,
rom-com suspense film.
Drama.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Should we rate it?
Yeah, and then I have some spoilers.
Okay. All right. I would rate this probably I'd give it maybe like a 7.5. I'm getting worse at this. I'll give it a 7.5. She's a lynx.
That doesn't even make any sense.
Out of 10. Yeah, one of the characters that he plays is based on that character that inspired that thing. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm gonna rate this 8. How's the pie?
Oh yeah. All pie's good pie.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you had some spoiler stuff?
Well, just really fast, parental guide. It is sex and language.
It is sex.
Yeah, and language.
The whole thing.
And it's not a violent movie, I would say, at all. Dang, I feel like there's one other thing I was going to say, but whatever. Okay, spoilers. Spoilers ahead. So, Gary and Madison date. Madison killed her ex-husband.
Yeah, it turns out that... So, her ex-husband definitely is a dick, but maybe not as much of a dangerous dick as she made it sound like.
Yeah. And
she is incredibly manipulative and willing to...
do whatever.
Do bad things. Turns out, it was probably... She probably should have gone to jail in the first place, because he convinces her not to kill her husband.
And then they get together, and she's like, how do you get away with it? And he kind of just, makes something up that sounds believable.
Yeah.
And then she does it.
She's taking notes. And then later, the husband contacts...
Before she kills him, contacts the hitman.
Right, and they're doing a sting against the husband. And he blows it up.
Because the husband knows that Ron is dating his wife.
Yeah, they bump into each other outside of a club.
Yeah.
And then Gary warns Madison, you need to get out of town. Your husband just tried to put a contract on you. And then Madison kills her husband in the way that Gary told her to do it, you know, the thing he made up.
Yeah.
About how he kills his victims, quote unquote. So she is a sociopath.
Well, and I just feel like Gary would always be worried that Madison would kill him.
She's already shown that she's willing to.
Yes. And, like, Ron might not care, but Gary would.
Yeah, but I think that's also that's one of the subplots, themes of this movie that...
Sure, he melds Gary and Ron together.
Yeah, he becomes...
But I think that part of Gary, he would always be worried.
Yeah.
And they kind of just gloss over it. Because at the end of the movie, they skip ahead, like, I don't know, 6 years.
Yeah.
And they have, like, a 5-year-old, and they're like,
and they're married.
Mom and Dad, how did you meet? It's like, well... It's like, kid, your parents are murderers. Your parents are murderers.
Yeah, both of them are. They,
I also feel like Gary would have freaked out more when they killed that cop.
Yeah, they kill a cop at the end to get away
and then
with
they do the naughty nasty right there in the same room as this. They put a bag over a drugged cop's head. And then they do the naughty nasty right there.
Well, they don't show that.
Sure, but still.
Maybe they go upstairs.
Still.
You never know. Yeah, it did end kind of like...
What?
Abruptly, in that sense. And the reason that they don't get in trouble for killing the cop is that's the cop whose place Gary takes.
Yeah, he's kind of a dirty cop.
He like did something racist, like vaguely racist, that's never...
It was racist, whatever they said, it was racist.
But I don't think they ever said what he did.
But I think he like beat up some kid or something, didn't he?
Oh, okay. Anyway, he did this thing, and so the police station, the section doesn't like him. They're giving him all the crappy jobs. They'd rather just get rid of him, and so that's why they're able to brush his murder under the rug, basically, because the department already wants him gone, so they don't really care, I guess, that
he died.
That someone murdered him.
Yeah.
They don't explain exactly what happens after they murder him. All we know is they got away with it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That was a little bit unsatisfying. I didn't mind, though, that they were, you know, a little sociopathic couple living their life after that. I
guess.
thought that was fine. It didn't really bother me. I mean, it bothers me in so much that you think about that and you're like, I wonder if I know any couples like that are actual sociopaths.
Really?
That have murdered people, and we would never know.
You thought that?
Well, just like the idea of that is a little bit unnerving, isn't it? Like they seem like a totally milquetoast white bread couple.
Yeah, because they're picking up their daughter from school, and the teacher's like, oh, and don't forget, like, we're having a bake sale or something.
Yeah.
And Madison is like, oh yeah, Gary will bring his famous apple pie.
Or like, something.
What?
Yeah, so they seem like a normal, like your next door neighbors.
Yeah.
Totally normal, but they both have murdered people. And it doesn't bother them at all. So the idea of a couple like that being a possible real thing is unnerving, I guess. But in terms of the story itself, like it didn't bother me. I was like, yeah, okay. It's kind of funny.
This is stupid to be like nitpicky about it, but like their daughter is like 5 or 6. And she asked how they met, and they've never come up with a story of how they've met before then.
Oh. Yeah, that is interesting. It seems like they would have talked about that.
With other couples or other people.
Right.
I don't know.
Alright. I don't have anything else to say. Okay. How much stuff do you have?
Not that much.
I have 2 things.
I'll go first.
Alright.
Okay, I feel like I've been talking about Bridgerton for like a whole year.
My word, more?
Well, I just finished the last season.
Oh, that's right. The second half. I hate it when they do this.
Yeah. I will say, not super impressed.
No?
No, with the last part. So this will contain spoilers because this is the second half of season 3. Just be aware. it just felt very like they just were coming up with reasons to cause drama, to have drama. And then, like, Penelope is Lady Whistledown, so the gossip columnist. She reveals herself at the end of the season. And, like, everyone's like, okay. After she's written, like, such horrible things about them. And everyone is just like, okay. And then she's going to keep being Lady Whistledown, but with her own pen name.
You're just upset that nobody said, "You bitch!"
Exactly.
And tried to tackle her.
Mm-hmm.
You wish that they would have had a scene like that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe at like a fancy dinner and someone jumps
they were
across.
At a ball.
Someone jumps across the table and everyone's like, "Oh!"
Exactly.
You wish that had happened and it didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Yeah, that is disappointing.
Yeah. And, like, her husband finds out right before they get married that she's Lady Whistledown. And he's upset. Kind of, you know, rightfully so. She wrote mean things about him and his family and all that. And then he's like, well, I'm not going to dishonor you by not marrying you. So we're still going to get married and we'll just figure this out later.
Huh.
And then they get married and then he just sleeps out on the couch.
Forever? So
For the beginning. They never... Although they did the naughty nasty before they got married. So
wait, do they not live happily?
they do at the end, I think, but...
Okay.
I don't know. I didn't love the second half of the season. So, that's all.
What are you gonna rate it?
I think the second half of the season, 6.5.
Okay, what'd you rate the first half?
I don't remember.
Dang.
Maybe an 8.
So you're not gonna aggregate this rating? This puts you at a 14.5 out of a possible 20. So you're sitting at a 73% rating for this overall. It's a solid C.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm fine with that.
Okay. All right. My turn?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I've got two things. What do I want to talk about first? I watched the first Mad Max, finished it.
How was it?
From 1979, I believe.
What's it called?
Just Mad Max. It was good. It's definitely old, and it's definitely his first movie, and you can tell. But there's some good stuff in it. Like apparently all of the stunts were totally real, because they didn't have any budget.
Oh.
So they needed to just do them, and they didn't have permits to do the stunts, so they just would go out onto the highways in Australia, wherever in Australia, and put cones down and block off the highway and just do the stunt, even though they weren't technically legally allowed to do
them
that.
Really fast and then leave.
Right.
That's wild.
And there's like some shots where people are driving and riding motorcycles like really fast down the highway, and I'm like, oh man, that looks kind of dangerous.
Are you sure they didn't just speed up the footage?
I'm not sure, but I know that multiple accidents happened
during filming.
During that shoot. So there's some good stunts in it. The world is not, it's barely post-apocalyptic at all. I think I'm going to get more of that when I get to the second movie. That's what I've heard. That really the second movie is what inspired the post-apocalyptic genre. Because like there's still towns and stores and like ice cream shops, and
oh, what?
Max goes on a vacation with his family at one point, and they're at a beach. But it's just like his origin story of why he got so mad. You know. Spoiler alert.
What? You're gonna skip right to the spoiler alert?
I guess.
Why?
Why not? All right, fine.
Well, I don't know. If you feel like it's fine.
I mean, this movie came out in 1979.
Who's watched it, though, besides you?
Well, people that grew up
old people.
Yeah, people that grew up during that time. This movie was made for a couple $100,000, I think like $300,000, and it made over $100 million.
Wow.
Because it just, like, caught fire, and everybody started loving it. And George Miller paid for it by like going to like some doctor friends and family friends and fundraising, and then he would also basically he had like a mobile medical clinic, and he would like just drive to certain places and provide medical services and get paid for them, and that's how he funded this movie.
Was he a doctor?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But it's also like very... A lot of the acting is just kind of over the top and just like strange. It's a little bit jarringly put together narratively as well. It feels like this happens and then this happens and then this happens.
So it doesn't flow super
and there's
well.
not much transition. Yeah. I like the ending though. Spoiler time.
Are you gonna rate it?
Yeah, I'll give it a rating. I understand that this is a classic and it inspired a lot of different stuff.
I thought you said the second one did.
Well, this is the one that got it started though, right? Like the second one doesn't happen without this one.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be a little more lenient on it for that reason, which isn't totally fair. But I'll probably say that I enjoyed this at about a 7. A 7. Give me saws or give me death out of 10. Okay, spoiler time. Max is so mad because his family gets killed. His wife and little son, I think. They get run over by a biker gang. And then the rest of the end of the movie is him going and getting revenge on the biker gang. And have you heard of the Saw movies? Do you know like the basic premise of the first one?
No.
These two guys are like chained up and there's a saw in the room, and if they saw off their leg or whatever, then they can get out. At the very end of Mad Max, the last biker guy, Max finds him and he handcuffs him to this like car that's crashed into a ravine, and then he turns on a lighter and puts it right next to where all the gas is spilling out, so it's gonna eventually blow up. And then he tosses the dude a saw and he says, you can try and saw through the handcuff, that'll take about 10 minutes, or you can saw through your arm and that'll take about 5. Good luck. And then he like leaves, and then he walks away and the car explodes behind him.
So it wasn't even enough time for anything, or?
It was basically like, if you're willing to cut off your own arm, you can get away, but otherwise you're gonna die.
Wow.
And
what'd you do?
I don't know.
I don't think I could do it.
Yeah, I don't know if I would either.
I'm such a baby. I don't think I could do it.
Well, and to make the decision within 5 minutes also, I feel like I'd have to get desperate enough. And then maybe I could do it if I had been sitting there for a long enough time.
I think I would just lay there and cry.
Because if it was like 127 hours, for example.
Yeah.
And you're either gonna starve to death, which is worse, I feel.
Yeah.
Or you can cut your arm off and bleed to death, and that'll be awful, but it'll at least happen faster. And maybe you get saved. Right?
Yeah.
But then you're without a hand. You're sans hand. Anyway, that one scene inspired the entire Saw franchise, apparently. Anyway, that's Mad Max.
Okay.
I watched Monkey Man, finally, which came out this year.
Or the end of last year.
It was either 2023 or 2024. This is the Indian John Wick movie that I think the trailer premiered at the Super Bowl. So it would have been 2024, right?
That's fair. 2024 is when it came out.
Okay. And it's the, the Indian John Wick revenge movie that you may or may not have seen the trailer for. I was surprised because it feels like every person I've brought this movie up to, they're like, what's that? And I thought everybody had seen this trailer.
I thought everyone did too.
But it has Dev Patel as the main actor. He's also the director of this movie. And it's a revenge movie.
Do you want me to read you the synopsis?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
This is what it says on the movie. An anonymous young man unleashes a campaign of vengeance against the corrupt leaders who murdered his mother and continued to systemically victimize the poor and powerless. That was one sentence.
Okay, yeah, that's good. Very heavy political undertones. Apparently this did not release in India.
Oh.
Which makes me wonder how close to home it hits.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't really comment on that because I don't live in India.
Or have any knowledge of...
Yeah, I'm not Indian.
Well,
what do you mean, wool? I'm not Indian.
You're not, but I just mean or have any knowledge of... You haven't done any research or any of that, is what I mean.
True.
That's what I mean, wool.
Wool. It's a good material for shirts.
For socks.
And for sheep floof. I liked it. Don't expect this to be like a totally 100% action, balls to the wall movie for the whole time. Because it's not that. It is that for the last like 20 minutes. But before that, our main character is just kind of trying to figure out how to get close to the person he wants to kill so that he can kill him. And then he also gets his ass kicked the first time he tries. And then it's going to be hard to talk about this without spoiling things.
Well, you gave a synopsis. Just say what you like and then rate it and then do spoilers.
Okay. Some of the action scenes are really good. Some of them use shaky cam.
I hate that.
You've heard a lot. I'm sure if you've seen any reviews on this, you've heard that this movie has shaky cam, and it does, and it's annoying.
Always makes me feel sick.
Yeah, it is kind of disorienting sometimes. But there are some parts that are like really good, but then other parts where you're like, you really could have done that better. And what's weird about it is apparently Dev Patel is a real martial artist. Like he was a champion taekwondo in London or whatever when he was young. So I don't know why he didn't just... I understand why you don't want to copy John Wick, because it seems like everybody is doing that nowadays. But that's so much better than everybody copying the way that Bourne did it. Mm-hmm. Because
it was cut,
yes.
cut, shake.
Yes.
Yeah.
And for like 10 years, that's how all action movies were, because they thought that was so cool. And I'm just going to come right out and say it. I don't think it works in Bourne either that well. Like in a couple of scenes, yes, but it's still obnoxious to me, and I don't like that style of action. So let's please not go back to this. Let's not regress. If what we have to do is just copy John Wick, that's much better than copying the way that Bourne does it.
Yeah.
So what I mean to say is some of it is like John Wick and it's long take and you can see what's happening, and it's really good when they do that. And then some of it is Bourne-like and it's not so good at those parts. I thought the acting was great though. Like the story is compelling enough. It's very simple. It's just like a revenge thing. You know, you get flashbacks, you figure out why he's so mad. Why Max is so mad. And that's fine. It looks really good also. Shot really well. There's some really cool color moments. Like there's a part where he's riding up an elevator and it opens and like the room is totally black, but the elevator is super bright red.
Oh, okay.
And so you just see like the red background with his
that's
silhouette of him.
The
poster.
Yeah, the poster is, right?
Yeah, so that's a shot in the movie. It looks really cool. There's a lot of like very stylistic, cool things like that. There's also a little dog in the movie.
Aww.
He feeds the little street dog.
Aww.
And he trains the little street dog to bring him the gun so he can smuggle it into the thing.
Jean-Claude.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Really, I guess the only thing I didn't like much about it was when the action was shot in a shaky way. Other than that, I liked it, I guess. Except for one other thing, but that's spoilery.
Okay, what would you rate it?
So I'm going to give this like an 8. I feel like it deserves higher than an 8, but maybe not quite an 8.5.
8.25?
You give it an 8.25 Bollywood rap songs out of 10.
He didn't want to rate it. It's a dog. Woof, woof.
I don't know what that is.
Lucy says that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She says it just like that.
That's funny. Spoilery. What was I gonna say? Okay, so when he fails the first assassination attempt, he ends up in this big old fight with the guy he's trying to kill, and they both hurt each other pretty bad. And then he's trying to escape. He gets shot off of a roof by like a SWAT team, basically. They catch him. They're transporting him. He wakes up, breaks out, kills the 2 guards that are watching him, breaks out of the car. He ends up getting adopted by this like group of trans people. And like they mentioned this group of trans people earlier in the movie, that they've sort of been like quarantined off into this one section because nobody likes them. And it made sense within the context of the movie because nobody wanted to go over there. So he was safe there. So he ends up like befriending these people. He trains there. He gets really strong, gets really good at fighting. And it turns out like that they were warriors at one point. Their group was a bunch of warriors. But the inciting incident for him to leave this community is one of them gets like beat up by a cop because the cop is asking for protection money or something and they don't have it. And the cop just, beats the shit out of this person. And then the rest of the community is like gathered around this person later and they're like, what are we going to do? And like, we just have to pray. We just have to pray and hope. And then Mr. Monkey Man goes and starts doing these prize fights and puts a bunch of money on himself to win. And he wins all the prize fights and then drops all the money off at the Trans Community Center. That's just what I'm going to call it for now. The Trans Community Center. And then goes on his revenge quest. At a certain point, he gets into a room where there's like 20-something people and there's no way he's going to be able to beat up all of them. And then the trans people show up and they start just massacring everybody. And that didn't really make any sense to me because if they were this good at fighting the whole time, why were they ever worried about a couple of thugs coming over to try and extort them for money? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they kill these dudes in incredibly violent ways with like knives and axes and all that kind of stuff. Like, wait, if you guys were this fired up this whole time, like, why was it a problem? I don't know. That didn't make sense to me. But that's the only little nitpick I've got. Parents' Guide, this is really, really violent. Really violent. Don't take your kids. There's also sexy time in it. So, it's mature. And there's some swearing. And drug use.
And political themes, right?
Yeah. A little something for everybody.
But not kids.
But not for kids. Yeah. I think that's it.
Okay.
What's coming up?
I have a book.
You got a book?
I read books.
Are you going to tell everybody what it is?
Yeah, it's book 2. I think I talked about the first one. So the first book was The Foxglove King.
Yeah.
And this one is The Hemlock Queen.
Okay.
So I'll have that one next week, probably.
I might have a book too.
Really?
Yeah. Maybe.
What's going on?
Maybe I'll watch Mad Max 2. Is there any other movie we've been targeting? Or is it dried up?
It's dried up, I think.
Okay.
The Bike Riders?
Oh, yeah. I'll wait and see on that one. Could be good.
Thelma?
Oh, never mind. I'll talk about that next week. Are you playing any games that you're going to talk about?
Mm-mm.
No.
Should I?
I don't know. I was just asking. You don't have to.
Okay, well, I have been playing Stardew Valley.
Have you not talked about that yet?
No, I'm just gonna give this as a little blurb. I'll talk about it at some point. But I found a Reddit page about Stardew Valley, and everyone is so nice on that page.
It's not very common.
No! It's like, hey guys, I'm having trouble with this one thing. I don't know what to do. And if you could, like, let me know, like, I'd really appreciate it. And everyone's like, oh, I had that same problem. If you just do such and such, you'll be fine. And, like, 50 comments of stuff like that. It's so nice. I've never seen anything like it.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
There was a game that just got announced that someone described as being like Stardew Valley crossed with something.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Can't remember what it was.
Well, it's funny in Stardew because you can marry some of the NPCs. And one of the posts was like, so I married so-and-so, but I'm wondering what other people's experiences were like marrying other people. And everyone is like, I played this game X amount of times. And the first time I married so-and-so, the second time I married so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. And so far, I'm actually in love with so-and-so. Oh my gosh. It's just so nice. I don't know. Anyways, that's all.
All right.
Okay, have a great week, everybody. Bye.